Oh, look at that. Well, I never.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. And everybody listening or watching or wherever else. You are here for an exciting episode. We've got guests.
Yes, we do. Got people.
Mm-hmm.
And not against their will either.
No tarps, backs of vans or anything else are harmed in the making of this in any way, shape or form. However, I'm reliably informed we're going to talk about sandwiches.
We were talking about sandwiches, yes. We got that out of the way.
No, I couldn't. I knew it was something I shouldn't say. Damn it. Shall we get him in?
Yeah.
Go on. I'll let you introduce him.
Oh, right. Okay. This is Luke from Revel. Welcome, Luke. Come on in, my friend.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
How you doing?
I think of something clever, but I know it just held me.
I
A man who needs no introduction. So here you go.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
I could see the steam coming out your ears trying to think of something clever, Malcolm.
Didn't happen.
He should know by now. Well, as soon as he hears the ring of that bus bell, he knows he's got to be on his ball, and he's not. But anyway, how you doing, Luke? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I'm calling from Germany at the moment. I'm out here in true Eurovision style. Feel like I'm about to
you've got spandex on.
Yeah, yeah. That's the work from home attire, polo at the top, and yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm currently out in Germany, obviously with my company, with Revel.
So do you want to introduce yourself then?
Yeah,
that would be easier, wouldn't it? Because then you get it all right then. Who are you?
Well, at the moment, I'm the filling in this sandwich, as we were discussing before the show, a Luke sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
I am the product manager for aircraft and space kits at Revel. So it's quite a cool title to tell people I'm the product manager for aircraft and space. You don't have to say the model kits to people. It takes away from it sometimes, depending on who you're speaking to. So, I'm responsible for the kits here at Revel, anything that's under my remit there, which is a lot, in all honesty. So obviously any plane, any helicopter, space, meaning real space, Apollo, Saturn V, rather than sci-fi, that's dealt with by one of my colleagues. You may know me from obviously my previous role at Airfix, where I worked for a few years. And I've moved over to the German side. We won't say the dark side, but the German side, for a bit of a change of scenery, but obviously still very much get on with the guys down at Airfix.
Cool.
Cool.
So yeah, you defected basically.
Well, we don't put it in those terms. No, it's not. Sure. It's not the Cold War.
Traitorous. Is that a good word?
Well, let's calm it down there. No, I made the move as a career move, but I would swap the commute. I'll be honest, because I still live in Margate, so I'm 5 minutes from Airfix, but I'm about 8 hours from the German office, so it's a bit of a difference.
Yeah, and you recently got married too.
I did. Got the ring to prove it.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, end of August, got married to my better half of 11 years. So, now I'm just putting off the conversation about kids for a while. Let's just rest, stay married for a bit.
Did you say kits or kids?
Kids, yeah.
Because that's literally what we're going to be talking about now.
There's no conversation about kits. It's sort of forced upon her.
That sounds like a good place to move on. So your first question really is why did it take you so long to get married? No, that was a different list. Sorry.
No, that was my wife's list.
Yeah, that's the one that's just popped up. Don't know why. Anyway, I'll get to that another time. So your first impressions of Revell. What are your first impressions of this the brand, and what's exciting you with this new role that you've taken on? Because it's quite I would guess it's quite a different role to what you were doing in Airfix.
Yeah, so at Airfix I was obviously researcher, but that's quite a broad title. The different to what a researcher would be in, say, Civvy Street. That's a bad term for it, but in a normal job. So I was doing a lot of range selection and stuff like that, which I do at Revell now as product manager. So I'm responsible for picking our selection for each year. Which kits are we reintroducing? What new tools are we bringing? What new parts are we adding? And obviously decor schemes as well. On top of all the more admin side of it as well. Doing the financials and things like that. The stuff people don't want to hear about so much, but still get the interesting side of it. I still get to do part of the research, which is where my passion lies. And yeah, so it's a broader role here at Revell, definitely. I have a bit of flexibility, a bit more autonomy, which is great. But this obviously comes with its pressure and responsibilities. So I've got a few more grey hairs and a few less of them as well. But it's really quite fun, and obviously it's a challenge, but very rewarding. Hopefully.
Cool.
You mentioned hair. I mean, you brought it up. One of the things everyone knows you for, Luke, apart from all that skill, is your amazing beard. And I wonder if you can share any useful beard tips with us. Oh,
see, well, be lazy is the key term. Because generally it only came about because I couldn't be bothered to shave every day. But then it comes with its own care, doesn't it? Having to go to the barbers to get it trimmed and paying the extra for that, which I'm not always great at doing. So sometimes looking a bit like a caveman if you see me in between visits to Germany or before a big show. I don't know. I've always had a beard from about 14. So I suppose just be born with it and then be lazy and don't shave.
Are you going to be bringing out Luke's beard oil for the scale modeler?
I'm not sure how well that would sell. Probably not the best seller in Revell's range.
I'd buy one out of pity. But
there we go. We sold one.
There you go. It's worth it.
I just want to point out, if we go to the barbers, not all of us pay extra to have a beard trimmed, but I'm going to move past that.
Do it myself.
Like a dig.
So we avoided it. We didn't want to say it, James.
I'll be honest. I'm amazed. I mean, we're like 10 minutes into this chat, and I'm the one being good. I said, didn't I? I said Malcolm. I told Malcolm to be good, and he's busy scanning his list of. I've seen the other list of questions. Yeah. Anyway, so the vision for Revell. I don't mean to throw you under the bus when I say this, because I really am not. But have you gone to Revell with some sort of mindset or vision for yourself as to what you can bring to Revell in the next 5 to 10 years? Is there something that you would, without giving too much away, because I know you can't and won't do that, but have you gone with that mindset? Is what I'm trying to say, really. Yeah,
definitely. You've hit the nail on the head there. I definitely view it as a project, something that I could look back on in 5 to 10 years' time and be proud of where the brand has come from. Where the brand is and where it was. So definitely a project. Obviously, I can only have so much effect, and there's a whole team, my colleagues in the product management team, marketing, and all the backroom staff as well, all play a part in it. So it would be big-headed of me to say, I did that. But definitely to have an impact is the key. I think you have to have a passion for the job that I do. Otherwise, the hours wouldn't make sense. So you've got to have a passion for what you're doing, the community that you're serving, essentially, and view it through that lens that it's a project that you have not that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but you're working towards something, because otherwise you can get lost in the day-to-day of any role, not just this role.
Absolutely.
You're dealing with individual products, individual components, one instruction manual at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and you have to focus on getting each of those individual components as good as you possibly can. Doesn't mean perfect every time, because no one's perfect, but over 5-10 years, we can hopefully start to move the needle a bit and get to where we want to be as a team.
Yeah, I mean, Revell has a long history of already of producing iconic kits and all that sort of stuff. So your role and your team, the team that you're a part of, the role, it's going to be difficult to manage that legacy as well as involving new product lines and like for the modern customer, if you like.
Yeah, and Revell has diversified a lot. So it's not just a model kit company. It has remote control, 3D puzzles, tiny adventures, toys. It has a whole other life to it outside of what people might know it for within the sort of Brit modeler and the modeling community in the UK. So it's always useful to keep that in mind when you're thinking of Revell. It's not a pure model kit company. Obviously, that's what a lot of people know it for, but it has branched out into other things. We obviously also, we're part of a group called Carrera Revell. Carrera is, for UK terms, think Scalextric is the big competitor, which is obviously, I've moved from Hornby, which owned both Airfix and Scalextric, and the same with Carrera Revell. We have the model kit company and obviously the slot cars as well. So it's very similar in the way that we're organised, in that we're part of a wider group, same as where I worked before, and we're owned by a sort of private equity firm as well. So there are parallels to be had between the UK and where I now am in Germany.
So I know you can't give too much away, but so with your role that you're doing and the hopes that where you want to go in the next 5-10 years, are there any plans to expand into new markets, product categories such as digital interaction or interactive kits, or targeting more to the younger modeler? Anything like that coming? You can tell us about?
Well, yeah. So there's always a bit of secrecy in these sorts of conversations, but identifying the younger modeler is a key thing, because it's always said that the hobby's dying, the hobby's declining. It will if we don't invest in it, is the truth. There's a stereotype of who uses plastic model kits, and that's you're growing up and your dad shows you how to build a model kit, and you do it till you're about 12. Then you find girls. A bit later on, you find booze. University, if you go, work gets in the way, life gets in the way. And then you return to it when you have a bit more disposable income, a bit of nostalgia starts to creep in, kids have left home, that sort of thing. So those are the sort of two stereotype groups. But if you don't invest in that first part, then you don't get the second part. The first part is where they're buying cheaper kits because it's pocket money. It's what you can convince your parents to buy you. So you need to be able to offer that price point, and they need to be decent kits as well. If we offer a kit that is a pig to build, then they might not return to the hobby, and that's something we have to be acutely aware of as we're developing. Because the truth is, obviously, you're buying lower price point items when you're younger, and then when you're older, generally you're free to buy the bigger stuff, the stuff that makes Revell more money, in simple terms. We need to care for both sides of that market. And that's something that I'm hoping to look into. It's definitely something I'm working on at the moment in regards to aircraft kits. But we also have Easy Click, which is sort of an in-between brand, which obviously doesn't require glue. So the idea being that you progress through the level system that we have, which is 1 to 5. 3 to 5 are reserved for glue kits, and 1 to 2 are sort of what we call first construction or build and play, and some other sub brands, and you work your way up essentially. Easy Click being where we view people starting, but they don't have to jump off from Easy Click. It can be something a bit like Lego. It's not about how difficult something is; it's the end product. So you can have adult themed Easy Clicks. Adult themed sounds wrong. Grown up Easy Click kits that are higher price points, but the idea is there's a progression coming through. But as I say, I'm looking into the smaller kits and second scale, how we can improve our offering there. Obviously, we have some older kits in that sort of range, and it's something I'm aware of. We don't want kids to have a bad experience when they first build or go in not knowing what they're building. So something that I'm working on, can't give too much away, but hopefully you'll start seeing products come soon.
Oh, excellent. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Have you got anything you want to throw in there, Malcolm?
Let's have a look. I was making notes.
Ding ding. I know you were making notes.
You said that you were working on you are the part of the department that works on real space items. And I was just looking through the 2024 catalog for Revel, of which there are 164 pages. And a lot of them are aircraft that they do, but there's, as you were saying, there's a lot of things that Revel do that is not just scale models. There's all sorts of stuff in. But I noticed there was a Moonraker thing in there. So what happens when there's a license involved with your real space? Because obviously the James Bond license and things like that. How does that work?
It's definitely something I've dealt with a bit. In the case of Moonraker, obviously the shuttle will come first, as in the tooling for that, and then we'll have approached the licensing agency and said, "Hey, we've got a great idea to sort of." When you're licensing, you're essentially piggybacking off of their IP, their intellectual property, and we'll have said, "This is our idea. This is the proposal," and they'll have said, "Great, give us 10, 20%, whatever it is." I won't give you the exact number. And we'll have gone from there. Obviously, there's a huge sort of approval process, and some licensors are quicker than others. Some are easier to work with, in other words. And you need to bear that in mind when you're developing such a product. When we talk about developing a product that's licensed from the start, which the Moonraker item won't have been, it would have been sort of an addition to obviously sort of create another release. But when we talk about licensing from the start, such as F-35, which is on the way, normally you're dealing with sort of a third party. So you won't deal with Lockheed Martin directly. You'll deal with an agency that they've assigned to look after these sorts of things. And you literally have to go through step by step. This is our concept. We want to do this. Okay, next step. Show us your packaging. Show us your CAD onwards, and you'll have about 20 different steps you have to, or hoops you have to jump through before it's all signed off and legal. But obviously they take their cut as part of that. So licensing can be as boring as that. You're dealing with the manufacturer and you have to, but it can also be like Moonraker. You have a product that has popped up in another bit of pop culture that you can sort of get another release out of, bring new life to an older product perhaps. So that's how we sort of approach licensing. We were over in, two of my colleagues were over in London 2 weeks ago at the licensing fair. So there's a big exhibition at the Excel where loads of companies will go and exhibit. This is the movie that we've got coming out. This is the game that's coming out. And quite often you'll get sneak peeks of what's coming so that you can start preparing products ahead of time, so that you can obviously tie in with things, which is something I was never aware of. Obviously, I can't tell you any of it, but you get invited to sort of screenings and things like that, so that it's not fully public knowledge. You might be able to speak to their reps and get an idea of what vehicles are going to be used. Is there a specific vehicle that is quite prominent in a series? Because obviously plastic model kit development times are so long, you need as much pre-warning as you can get, really. If you see it on TV and then you start developing, the hype's gone. It's too late.
Mm-hmm. That was very interesting. I think it is interesting, licensing. Let's start another whole podcast so we can push all that this way. But yeah.
Certainly would be. One thing I wanted to ask, and I'm not. So basically, it's about the modelling community. So, a couple of things I've noticed, because obviously I've been sat around on my backside doing nothing for the last few months, and I've noticed a few bits and pieces. So the Revell seems to be out there a little bit more, if that makes sense. It's certainly been promoted. I also noticed there's a YouTube channel where you are going through your catalogue, etc., which I stumbled across. So, with all those sort of things in mind, is the Revell's brand strategy towards the modelling community, have they got some things that they really want to push forward and develop in the coming year, 2 years, like, for example, their online presence, etc., in YouTube now?
Yeah, it was something that I was aware of when I joined the brand, was that obviously coming from Airfix, where they're very good at marketing, Revell in the model kit space maybe wasn't quite as good. So the key was transparency, really, and trying to put a face onto Revell. One of the accusations we've often heard is it's quite a corporate brand. So trying to give a bit of personality to it. Unfortunately, they were stuck with my personality. I know. But and also, the other guys as well, and trying to encourage them to get behind the camera or in front of the camera. One of the big things I wanted to do was start giving updates on projects. So you'll see, I think, a blog on the Meteor and a blog on the F-35. I think maybe 2 blogs on the F-35 now. And that's part of an ambition to just be honest about what's coming, problems we're having with development, if there are any, but also shout about our successes. People love to follow along with these projects. They like to see what's happening. So we should give it to them. It does mean a few extra hours, in an evening for me to type up a blog or something, but it's not much, just to show off decal schemes or box art is something that people like to see, because otherwise it gets announced in January and December, people have forgot about it and it just appears. So you need to, where you're announcing quite early in the year, you need to keep up interest or be quite strategic about how you do that. And that's something we're looking to address. Obviously, you mentioned the YouTube channel as well. Trying to, again, we're doing the monthly news show as a new thing that we've got, which is
on
essentially
YouTube, is it?
Yes, yeah. A recap of the month's releases and maybe a look into the next month, just to, again, keep people aware of what we're doing, what's coming, so people can get excited or criticised. But either way, any publicity is good publicity, as they say. So as long as people are talking about Revell, then that can only be a good thing. And to do that, we need to be out there. Talking of public engagement, we've obviously got YouTube, the blogs, and now more model shows. Especially speaking about the UK, because I'm based in the UK, so I can do more shows. But Malcolm, I saw you at Avon, I believe.
Yes.
And then Farnborough as well, maybe. And obviously we'll be at Telford, as we always are. And hopefully we can go to some others later in the year, or early next year, I should say. And the idea is there to show Revell, to the community, be out there, engage with people. If they have something to shout at us about, maybe not shout, but criticize us for, then come tell us, or to compliment us. That would be nicer. It's just nice to have engagement in that way. We can get a better feel for where we are in terms of the market. Obviously, we already have a pretty good idea. We're not blind to some of the stuff on forums and obviously YouTube channels. But it's always nice to speak face to face with people, and that's something that was missing a bit previously, and it's something we're doing more in Europe as well. I think people view Revell as a German brand, but we're definitely trying to make it more of an international brand. It obviously has its US sort of company, it has the German company. We obviously have a UK company as well, which is where I'm employed via. But we also have branches all around the world. So yes, it previously was a very Germanic company, but we're sort of branching out a bit. By hiring an English product manager, I suppose they have to a certain degree.
Well, I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had a lot of feedback. I say feedback. I've had a lot of conversations with people saying that they've seen you at shows, and it's really nice to see Revell at the smaller shows, not just Telford. I'm also aware that Revell, as well as a lot of the European traders that came to Telford, etc., struggled with a few bits and pieces since the B word happened and all that sort of stuff, and COVID and all that sort of stuff. So there's been a lot of stuff for everybody to manage round. But the fact that you're basically investing in the community by being there and allowing them to invest in you as well, because we do, don't we, as modelers, when we buy a model kit, realistically we want to invest not just in that kit, but we also want to invest in the community that's behind that kit, the company, have a two-way conversation about the pros and the cons of that kit, etc., and hopefully get our random aircraft that no one ever thought of building onto the list of kits that get released, etc., all those sort of things. And without having the ability to have that two-way conversation, it's really difficult, isn't it? So I think that's fantastic. That's the steps.
You mentioned the B word. Obviously, one of the big things we had at Telford every year was this big sort of glass exhibition stand. We won't have that this year, and the logistics of that are the reason why we won't be having it. Trying to get a huge exhibition stand from, I believe it's stored in Nuremberg, because obviously it's used at the January toy show, and then shipped over. Obviously, that's a member of staff that's out the office for days on end, getting it over, waiting in the queue. I won't go into the details of getting over the border, but it's tricky. Obviously, all the stock. So what we've done instead is obviously invest in UK-based banners and exhibition stand stuff, just so that then makes it easier to do Telford, but also that stuff's there all year round, so we can do the smaller shows with next to no investment. All that is myself and my colleague Andy's time generally going to these shows, and we'll just go for the fun of it. The only thing we expect to get paid for is the fuel, really. We don't want that coming out of our own pockets. So it's a nice thing to have that. Now we have the flexibility. It's one of the main reasons we weren't doing shows before. We didn't have stuff that was UK based. We can go and do all the smaller shows where possible. We're always giving up a weekend. I don't like to say giving up a weekend, but I'm in Germany quite a bit, so my wife does want to see me every now and then, and sometimes the model shows get in the way.
I'll just check the other list to make sure that's factually correct. No, that is right. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I always try and carve out time for. We can't do all the shows. So before I get inundated with emails saying, "Can you do my one in a school hall?" It's not always possible. Obviously, travel is a consideration. So I think Farnborough was quite close to where Andy lives, so we did that one. Avon is not very close to anyone, but it's a big one-day show, so it's always worth doing. Bolton is in our crosshairs. We might do Bolton. We're just trying to work out some logistics. Again, not near to any of us. It's a long way, but it's obviously one of the bigger shows immediately after Telford. So we will try and do more shows where possible. Obviously, we do have to draw a line in the sand in terms of our own personal life sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, if you need a place to store the big exhibition stand from Nuremberg, I've got a shed. It's not a problem. I can help out.
Can you drive the HGV that it needs?
I could do anything you want me to, Luke. Not a problem at all.
Do anything for you.
Whether it be legal or not is another matter.
Yeah.
We will move on from that point now. So the other thing in relation to the community that I wanted to ask was, have you or the brand got any collaboration ideas or plans in the coming short term with maybe influencers or charities or the community as a whole? Is there anything you can tell us?
Nothing per se, just doing more engagement, really. When we talk influence, when YouTubers and magazines, just trying to engage more and give them more information. It goes alongside our sort of more public outreach with the YouTube shows and the blogs. When we've been doing the blogs, we pre-brief some media outlets so that, a bit like I was saying with the licensing, where we get a sneak peek so that we can prepare stuff ahead of time. They want the same, so that their magazine articles, so their videos can go live almost immediately after our announcement or whatever. Obviously, it's always embargoed, meaning that they can't put anything out before we announce ourselves, because we don't want them stealing our thunder, essentially. We want to be the first one to say it, and then other people can react and do all that sort of stuff. But we'd never done that before. So before the blogs, we weren't embargoing information and having it go out to sort of chosen partners, people that have asked for the information. So if you're watching this thinking, oh, hang on, Luke hasn't emailed me giving me this information, drop me an email or drop Revell an email, and I'm sure, if your channel's big enough, it's always a consideration, then we can do something. But if you don't ask, you don't get. Just to preempt any angry comments. So yeah, doing more of that. But really, in terms of collaboration, obviously doing more with the community generally. You'll notice we have like product builds on the back of our boxes, real models, using more of the community to do those rather than one or two people trying to widen it out. They get the kudos of having it on the back of the box, but also a free kit or payment or whatever. So engaging in that way so that people are aware of Revell products. But yeah, in terms of like formal programs for engagement or collaborations with people, not so much at the moment. But if people have ideas, then send them across to me or Revell. I won't give out my email because I have too many emails. But you'll be able to find the Revell one.
The Revell have a contact address on their website, which I will put in the links. But that's really good actually, because that links quite well to the next question, which is in relation to feedback. How does Revell gather their feedback from the customers, and just how much does it influence their product development as a brand?
So we have quite a sophisticated bit of product or marketing research going on at all times via sort of an agency, but really the primary research is the most important stuff, especially for me as a product manager. I can be told key demographics and all this till the cows come home, but you don't get the same thing as hearing 200 people ask for the same product at Telford. That tells you something. Maybe we should be doing this because our key audience is asking for it. You do have to take it with a pinch of salt, as you'll be aware. The old, well, I'd buy it, and so would my two mates. Well, there you go. We've sold 3. Great.
Luke's beard oil again, isn't it?
Yes, Mike. But yeah, the primary research is really important to me. And when I started the role, actually, talking of influencers and people like that, I interviewed, I think, 30 different people with followings or channels of their own sort about key strengths of Revell, where they want Revell to be, what are the key issues. and that was really important. I think it was like half an hour to an hour interviews with each of those people. So it was a lot of long evenings, but really trying to, obviously I had my own opinions of Revell as a brand, what was good, what was not so good. But you don't want to just, do all this work on your own beliefs. You sort of want it validated, or you want to hear contrary opinions, which I obviously got in spades, which is fantastic. That for me is the most important sort of feedback. Speaking to real people, you do have to weigh it with the people we speak to at model shows are about 10 being generous, or 5% of the people who buy kits. So the fans, as we'll say, or the enthusiasts, they are a vocal minority. A lot of the people are buying kits and will not be on a forum, won't engage with YouTube and be on comments. And so when you're hearing all this feedback, you do have to wonder, am I in an echo chamber? And you have to test that theory sometimes. So it's great to be at the model shows, but you also need to sort of branch out and go to places where modelers aren't, but people are buying model kits. Why are you buying this? What's your motivation? And to get a real understanding of how we can sell an extra 1,000 units, essentially. It comes down to trying to sell more from a money perspective, which sounds grubby. I don't like that, but I do have to put on my product manager cap sometimes. But also, there's the side of me that just loves the product as well, and you sort of have to balance them out a bit. So, that's in terms of like feedback. That's the best way I can explain it. Really, is we have all sorts of reports come into us from agencies telling us this age group wants to buy this price item, etc., etc., and they've gone out and found all this information. But modelers are a very niche group, so sometimes you get a different feeling from the fans than what you're getting from this sort of broader market research. So it pays dividends to go to shows and speak to people in person.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, well, you're the good guy to do it, because obviously that's what you like to do. You like to meet people and talk. So I was wondering how much it feels like work to you.
It's a good question. Some days you have to pinch yourself. Is this work? Am I being paid for this? And some days you go, am I being paid enough for this? So they balance out. They certainly do. But overall, it's not really a job, is it? I'm working on model kits all day, every day. And when you're having a bad day, you just have to remind yourself that people would kill for this job. And so you can't complain. Next week I'm out and about researching. So I'm driving a lot, which I hate doing, just because it's hours in the car. I've listened to so many podcasts, it's unreal. But at the end of it, you're at a museum working. You're looking at an aircraft that you might have been at that museum when you were a kid, looking at the same aircraft, and now you're being paid to do the same. So it's pretty cool, And in this job, and obviously in my previous job, there are moments that you couldn't pay for. I think one of my highlights at Airfix was flying in the Sea King for the launch of that kit.
Saw the video.
Which, was fantastic. Great fun. After working on that project for probably a year, I think, before Chris even touched it to do the design. That was pretty neat. And there's stuff at Revell as well, none of which I can say, but that I've been able to do. That's pretty cool. So how much does it feel like work? I'd say 50% is work, 50% is just pinching yourself. So overall, it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's a good thing. If you can find a job where it doesn't feel like work, you're doing well.
I don't think, if you're obviously I'm relatively young, so you're always chasing the career to a certain point. So you're always trying to put in those extra hours. You're trying to work harder, push yourself. But that's easier when you're doing a job like this. You don't mind putting in the extra. Rather than a 40-hour week, doing a 60-hour week because you had to go and do 3D scanning somewhere is not too bad. Staying in hotels, yes, the novelty wears off. But again, not many people get to travel for work. And here I am in Germany. I was in Austria 2 weeks ago. I'm sure I'll see some other countries before the end of the year. So, yes, not to brag, because there are obviously negatives to that and being away. I think on your question list, James, my wife will have one about travel. But being away from home is a privilege, but it's also it can be annoying at times as well. So that, as with anything in life, there are pros and cons. But overall, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we all would look at your job and think it's not that much of a job, because we'll be looking at the highlights, not the facts and figures where you're sat there with your calculator, etc. And your wife going, "This is my time." Yeah. I can really relate to that. Before we close up, is there anything, Malcolm, more that you want to ask?
Yeah, I have. So Revel had their brand of paint. They had the little square pots, remember? And I'm just looking on the website, and they do model color sets that I've never seen for sale in the shops. Is that something that's available in other countries, or are the products to build these things going to be more available? Or
so the color sets, I believe there are some in Hobbycraft. I was in there the other day, so I think there are. But the idea of them, if I'm remembering rightly, is that they are basically designed to go alongside a product. So, for example, the Gloucester Meteor, 30-second Gloucester Meteor that we were talking about on the blog not too long ago, I mentioned on here. I'll be asked by the product manager for accessories, what key 6 paints are needed for this kit, or for the A scheme on this kit. And the idea is that you can nice and easily go and pick up that product. I think they quite often call them email color sets, which as an English person, I was really confused. Email? What? Email? What? How are you getting these paints? But email is enamel in German, which was one of those. Really should have learned a bit more German before I came out here. I think Bitter, Danke, and Ein Gross Beer Bitter has got me quite far so far, but I should really do some more. The idea is that they accompany products. They are available in the UK, but obviously in the UK we are B2B, which means that we sell directly to businesses. We don't sell directly to consumers. So previously you used to be able to order from the website, but going back to the B word we were mentioning, the logistics of all that makes it very, very difficult to ship it into the UK without obviously incurring extra costs. So at the moment we're strictly B2B. So we might offer a color set, for example, but if Jadlam or one of the distributors doesn't pick it up, then it won't come to the UK.
Gotcha. Yeah. Other distributors are available. Yes,
I was thinking of distributors, and I thought I've only got one in my head. Hammond's. I've got lists and lists of distributors and shops, but
you got to miss them all now.
For balance,
while you listen to this podcast, if you just look at the screen, you'll see all the distributors going up the screen now as we carry on the chat.
That'll take you hours.
Yeah, well,
I got one more. I got one. Sorry,
I'm going to hold James to his word. He has to put that list scrolling up.
Oh, it will be. When you're driving in your car listening to this podcast, watch out for it. There'll be a whole list going up and down. But please keep your eyes on the road. Anyway, the next question, Malcolm.
I've got one last question. Well, I probably don't. I've got loads. Do we have a time limit, by the way? Have you got to get off?
I'm here all day. So
no, he said he was here till tomorrow, so it's fine.
Oh, brilliant. Right,
I've just come out of a 7-hour meeting, so what's an extra 2?
This is not a meeting, is it?
You've only got to go and cook.
Yeah, true. I've only got to eat.
Yeah.
I would like to know what you are building right now.
What am I building right now?
And do you get to bring it with you?
What am I building? So, an F-35 at the moment.
Okay.
So we've just got first test shots of that. So I'm building about 5 F-35s at the moment to try and whenever we get first shots in, we obviously have to build them multiple times, take photos, make reports of, this part has a bit of flash, sync, the fit of this isn't fantastic, all that sort of stuff. And the list adds up to probably sort of 100 to 200 comments generally. And you'll always miss something. So there'll be something on the second shots that was always there on the first shots, but there's just so many comments that you've sort of got lost in it all. But personally, what am I building? The same thing I've been building for 2 years now, and I've not even got the fuselage halves together, and that is a 48th Gloster meteor from my previous employer, and a 35th ferret from my previous employer. I've been on that less time. All the interior's done, and it's all sort of sealed up. I did that in a weekend as a nice sort of blitz build. But as you can imagine, the busman's holiday that model kit making can be after you've spent all day, all week, sometimes a weekend doing. Sometimes you just want to switch off from it, which I don't think I can be blamed for. I think some people are disappointed when they hear that from me, but there's only so many hours in the day, and I would love to build more, but I think a wife I would not have, and a life I would not have as well, because I'm working quite a bit, and then I have to find some time to sleep and eat.
Yes.
So just on that sort of line, I just had a thought as you were talking about this. So when you're working from home, because you do work from home, obviously not always in Germany, you can tell us, the boss won't hear this in any way, shape or form, but is there ever a moment when you're working from home going, I can't do these figures anymore, where's that kit? You just slide the kit over and go, it is research, it's fine, it's still work. Any time do that?
Working from home, I have to be careful what I say here. Working from home has its advantages, that if you do get fed up with a task, you can go make a cup of tea, stretch your legs in the garden and revisit with sort of renewed vigor. And that's sort of the beauty of working from home. The disadvantage is you can't escape work. And my other half will attest to that with me checking my emails at 10 at night. But the beauty of this job is that I'm working on multiple projects at one time. So if you hit a dead end or a mental block with a project, you can, I just need to work on the test shots for the F-35. And that is work. I'm doing something I should be doing. Sometimes you do go, this feels a bit wrong, but you are working. This is something that needs to be done. So the fact there's so many different projects at one time, so many different marketing things going on, is great. A bit overwhelming at times, but definitely great, because you can be multitasking, no one's ever truly multitasking. They're just working on lots of different things in short segments. And that's the nice thing with this job. So I can escape the emails and check some decals against the layouts or build a plastic model. So yes, I do slack off from my emails, but only to go and build a model kit that's relevant to my job.
But it's not slacking. It's not slacking.
It's not slacking.
I purposely asked the question the way I did, because technically you're not slacking. The main reason, selfishly for me, wasn't to get you in trouble with your boss. Is I'm going to take this recording to my work and say I need to have a model kit just in case, because it'll make me focus better, and you'll get more work out of me while I'm building my.
There's one key difference though, James, that I'm paid by Revell and you're not. So I'm not sure you'll get away with it as easily.
Close that down really quickly, Malcolm, didn't you? Did you notice that?
Sorry.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, you did. Cross that off your
So,
dream list.
yeah. That's off that list. It's just I'm gonna move that list over to there. Yeah, we won't get to that right in a second. Any other questions, Malcolm, at all before we close up?
Yeah. So those 5 F-35s.
Yes.
When you're building them, then, so how many iterations do you go through? Is there a limit? So how many times you can change it?
Yeah. So the limit of how many I can build in one go is how many fit in the box when China send it over. But the limit of test shot rounds, shall we say, is dictated by a couple of different things. One of them is project timescale. So, with F-35, we are up against it time-wise because we want to get it out for the first quarter of next year to peek behind the curtain. So I need to get these test shot comments off quickly so that they can start making the alterations quickly and obviously create the second round. We want to limit the amount of test shot rounds. There's always a compromise. A model kit is a compromise in so many different ways. Talk about scale thicknesses and all that. Everything's a compromise on a scale model kit. And at a certain point, you get into your third or fourth round of test shots, and there you do have to sort of take off your perfectionist cap and say, is anyone going to notice this tiny thing? I've built 10 of them, and that's why I've noticed it. But the Joe public will only build 1 or 2. Hopefully they'll build 10 as well. But you do have to weighing up whether the time difference of making another set of corrections is worth the obviously monetary impact, delays to schedules and things like that all cost money. So with F-35, we're hoping to get 3 rounds of test shots done. But a bigger project, you might do 4 or 5. If it's particularly bad or they're not making the changes that they need to, quite often you'll make a list of say 200 comments. 150 will be done in the first round. You'll add those 50 that weren't done onto your comments for the second round, and they'll still be there on the fourth round because quite often you'll find they're putting them off. The guys in China are like us. If they can get away with not doing it, they will. Just like us on a Friday, I suppose. So you do have to be persistent with them, with any supplier. So we're dictated by time. But if we're making decisions promptly in regards to product development and things like that, we should give ourselves time for 4 rounds comfortably to then obviously put it on the water over to Poland where we produce, which takes 2 months. So it's a long old time that you have to schedule in. But the beauty of manufacturing in Poland is that production is almost immediate because it's only a lorry trip away from Germany or to Austria where the warehouse is. So generally I think 3 is the golden number with test shots. It's very rare that you'll do 2. It has happened, but it's very rare. 3 or 4 is more common. 5, something has gone wrong, and you're still trying to fix it. And sometimes you don't manage to fix it. But you just hope that the things that you can't fix are so small that you'll get away with it to a certain degree, which we never like to do. We never like to fudge anything, but sometimes you can't be perfect, and you just have to accept that, as much as it pains me to say.
Yeah, there are always going to be some sort of limitations, isn't there, with the process? So, I think definitely. As modelers, we do understand it, but it does give us a moment to moan. But we do.
It's good to hear, though, isn't it? It's good to hear that model manufacturers like Revell are doing that sort of thing. And the flash and all that comes with some kits.
You'd rather correct it in China, because once it's left China or wherever you're getting your tool made, it's too late. And if it's wrong forever, essentially, because the finances in model kits don't allow you to say, right, stop production, we're going to put it back on a container, take it to China and amend it. And you never really want to change a mold, because they change one thing, something else can break, something else will get damaged. So whilst you're in that test shot process, once it leaves that test shot process, that's it. It's really not going to change in the future, and it's that way for 20, 30 years. So you want to be as sure as you can that it's good, because you don't want the guys in Poland to try and modify the tooling because it was made in China for a reason. Modifying someone else's work is always difficult, and obviously there's a cost involved. And at a certain point, it becomes just not feasible to do. So, you have to be doubly sure once you get it on that container that it's good to go, and that's where it's a bit nerve-wracking at times.
Yeah, a little bit. A lot, I'm sure, but worth it. Certainly worth it. I was just interested. Just before you came on, I was thinking, how many Revell kits do I have in my stash? And I did count, and there's 6.
Okay, respectable.
I thought that was quite good, and I imagine that's probably the same for most modelers. They probably have quite a few Revel kits in their stats, so it's quite an important brand in the hobby, right?
Yeah, definitely, and we definitely serve a purpose. I think every model kit manufacturer has a niche or a subject matter that they cater for more than others. Obviously, Airfix is quite British leaning, not always, but generally speaking. And there are certain there's subject matter that you would say, that's a so and so subject, that's a so and so subject. Revell, as I say, has always been seen as being quite German, and that definitely is a big part of our market. But we do have a very international flavour because, in all honesty, there's not many German aircraft post-war, let's say. Obviously, Luftwaffe subjects we have quite a few of, but post-war, they were using US aircraft, British aircraft. So we're sort of forced to do that. And I think that is where Revell comes in. We cater for some subjects that other people wouldn't generally. And through our sort of back catalogue, you can look at some of the Matchbox kits as well that are unique, haven't been touched since because sort of that age of modelling has gone. It's in a bit of a revival now. Obviously, we sort of all know that, but things like the Hayford, I can't see being created anytime soon. So hence why I think you always see, even if someone doesn't like Revell, they'll probably have a few kits of ours because the subject matter in there is unique in a lot of cases. And obviously, that's something. When we talk new CapEx, we're always trying to be unique. We don't want to be treading on each other's toes. Obviously, as a business, we want to grow. We want to beat the competitors, but also we sort of view everyone as colleagues. We're all working together in this modelling industry. It would almost be unfair to do the same product to someone else. Obviously, barring Spitfires, Messerschmitts, F-35s, but when we're talking more niche subjects, you always try and avoid each other because the market's only so big, and you don't want to be sort of battling off of each other. You'd rather pick different subjects and get all of that market share. Sorry, I went down the path there.
yeah. Put your hat on, didn't you? That's what it was.
Yeah. You've got capital expenditure in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Good Lord. I tell you, if you had told me years ago I'd be talking about capital expenditure on just making conversation, I would have said no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to bring it.
Licensing and capital. Yeah, that's what we can call the podcast. I think that's all my questions gone through and answered beautifully, Luke.
Yes.
Well, I try. I'm an quite a bit, which I'm very aware of, but I'm happy to be on here. It's nice to see you guys again. Obviously, Malcolm, I've seen you a few times. James, for some reason you've been away, but wishing you all the best. Thank you for having me on.
Well, there was one question that I did have very quickly. That you brought up made me want to ask it. When you said you go to model shows, but and you get like an echo chamber, you said it would be good to go where modelers aren't.
Yes.
Where's that? What shows do you go that modelers are not at?
Well, so you try and vary it. Toy shows are a good flavour for that as well. Obviously, at the start of the podcast spoke about branching out, and we obviously have sort of different flavors of Revell that are more toy leaning. So going to toy markets, listening to your salespeople, because they're visiting all sorts of customers as part of that sort of branching out of Revell. So they are in the non-model kit shops, and listening to their customers that have no idea what Revell sort of started as. So they have no loyalty towards the brand in that respect, but they know the products that are more in their sphere. So listening to the sort of novice perspective that gives, even going to shop visits. Hobbycraft is a good example. Not everyone that walks into Hobbycraft is after a model kit. In fact, most people aren't. But we have a big shelf space in Hobbycraft. Is one of our biggest customers in the UK, and just going there, even just chatting to someone that's at the shelf, if they're looking at a starter set or any sort of model, why are you picking that? What's your thought, and just getting the information that way.
Okay.
Even if they're not even at the model kit section, just ask them.
Even if they're not even in Hobby.
Yeah,
that.
I think if you ask anyone in the street what Revell is, I think 9 out of 10 people would give you a blank face or think you're going mad just for grabbing them in the street. So probably don't do that. But yeah, just going to shows, a lot of commercial shows, but also trying to avoid talking to people that are in industry, not just our industry, but in industry in general, speaking to the general public, that are consumers or just consumers in general is a good way to get away from the noise that model shows can be, in the best sort of way, before people start saying, I love model show, but as I say, it's the vocal minority which need to be respected and catered for, but we also need to cater for that other percentage.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
that concludes my questions, James.
And you can see Luke in the crochet section of Hobbycraft anytime soon.
Normally Margate Westwood Cross, that's where I'll be. I'll just hang out there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's got an awkward tone to it, but never mind. We're all friends here. So closing up. Obviously, it's a great pleasure to talk to you. The fact you've gone into this new role, super exciting. And I personally, because I haven't seen you, I've been wanting to bend your ear and find out what's going on. I found out. But to close things off, really, I think I should just ask you, really, is there anything you would like to say to the Revell's long-term fans, or maybe the new hobby or new hobbyist, because obviously you're dealing with this section, but you work for Revell. So the new modelers or hobbyists, now you've taken the reins of this, is there any message you want to get out to everybody?
I suppose I would just ask people to, drop an email into Revell if you have suggestions, send them in. I look at the forums and I look at all the criticism. So if you want something to be done about it, and to be sure that you'll get a reply, or I'll explain why we can't do a certain thing, drop an email and say, for attention of Luke, because I will try and reply to as many as possible. Or come and see me at a show if you know that Revell are going to be in attendance. If Revell are going to be there, generally I'll be there. I'll try to be. And quite often at the end of blogs, there's an email address given with a subject line that will basically be forwarded on to me. So I'm just after as much feedback as possible. I am trying to change some things within my sort of subsection. As I say, put my own little stamp on it, and improve it, thinking of the fans. So if you are one of those fans, let us know what we can do better. Let us know what we're doing good as well. That would be nice.
You do need that. You do need, and I will back Luke up on this. You do need not to just give the negative, because at the end of the day, we could all bang on about the negative, but you have to put pat the guys on the back at the end of the day. And one of the things I'm going to do right now is to say, congratulations, well done for getting to more shows, because I think it's something at Revell. I totally understand why the reasons for the logistics, etc. But I think it's really important that Revell and brands generally are at shows. I think there should be a lot more of it. Certainly the smaller shows would be grateful for the attendance as well, because that gives them a little bit more of a draw, and it gives them a possibility, an opportunity to interact with you and take ownership of A, their hobby, and B, the brand. You know, you can't be the brand without the customers, and the customers can't. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I got you. Yeah.
I got all teary then for a minute.
No, but it's a real pleasure to be at those shows. So I thank everyone that comes up and gives criticism or says, "Oh, that looks amazing. Where can I buy it?" That's always good. So yeah, I'm happy to be at those shows and engaging with people. Working from home it can be a bit solitary at times, so it's nice to then go out after a week in the home office and be shouted at a stand on a Saturday. So
you mentioned Andrew. Is
Yes.
he your assistant to the product designer, or is he a product design assistant, or are you both sharing the role, or how's that?
So no, Andy is sort of marketing manager within the UK. So he's not part. So it's a bit strange how it works in terms of structure. So I'm employed in the UK, but basically I'm part of the German team, which is where the product development is based.
Yeah.
And then the UK is essentially a sales office, but it obviously needs people to manage all the backroom functions, but also the marketing that's specific to the UK, and that's what Andy does. So obviously part of marketing is going out to the shows. So yeah, he's definitely not my assistant, but I might start calling him that and see how he likes it.
Yeah.
You know what you should do? You should get a Revell t-shirt, but on the back get assistant written on it, and make him wear it. Just don't tell him. Just say, put that on. Put that on.
Oh no, you've made an enemy of yourselves, guys. I'm sure Andy will be cursing your names.
He doesn't know who we are. It's fine.
Hey, join the list.
Yeah.
Next time I'll see him at Telford. I'll give him a gold walnut for his t-shirt. There we go. Anyway, Luke, thanks so much for sparing some time with us. It's been wonderful to talk to you as always. I no doubt at some point we'll drag you back in here at some point for another chat when there's some more updates and stuff. When you've taken over everything, and it's a pleasure as always. Anything you want to say, Malcolm? Because I'm rambling.
Yeah, so all the links and things, I've been writing them down as we go. We'll put those up in the Facebook post, and it'll be in the description as well, won't it? I don't think we'll put any photos up, but it's just links really. The things we talked about. We'll put the email address in. The email address for you, Luke, is complaints@airfix.com.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so everyone can. We'll put that into. I'll look that up, and we can put that into the list of things. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Luke. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You're a curmudgeonly, happy-faced, bearded gent, and it's always a pleasure. So thank you very much for giving up your time to talk to us and the three people that listen.
No, thank you very much, guys. It's fantastic to speak to you again as well.
I just realised it's the three beards that I didn't twig that at the beginning. Anyway, until next time, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next show.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.